Bhakti Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishpad Shri Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Rashita Rashita Shmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Rashita Rashita Shmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnupad Rashita Rashita Shmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchid Ananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. नाम चैश्ल हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय. सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय. श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय. श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय. श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय. श्री भक्ति देवी की जय. श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय. श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय. तृतीय शुभ तिरुभाव तिथि की जय. श्री निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. दंडवत प्रणाम गार्गराज जी, Raseshwari Mataji, Rohit Radhakrishnan ji, Shash Sharma ji, and Indira Mataji. She'll be watching later on. She's traveling right now. Okay. Dandavat pranam everybody. Hari Bol. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gauratvishe namaha. Guruve gaurachandraya radhikaya itadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yang Prabrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Binedus Tang Sarva Bhuta Hridayam Unimanatosmi. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Shrindvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Redantasto Yabhadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam. Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. Bhaktya Vihina Aparadalakshay Kshiptashtaka Ditarangamade Kripamaitam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charana Ravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams Madhavi Didi and Savitri Didi. Hare Krishna. Alright, so day before yesterday we started this chapter 14. We finished reading all the Sun Dynasty, the Surya Vangsha. Now we're beginning the Chandra Vangsha, the Moon Dynasty, of this chapter. So this King Purṛravā lamenting in separation from Urvaśī. Is there? Anyways, I'll look later on. Soma, the moon god, begets Budha through Tārā. Shukadeva Goswami said to Parikshit Maharaj, "So far you have heard about the Sun Dynasty. Now hear the purifying description of the Moon Dynasty, in which famous kings like Aila, Purūravā are glorified." So the first 13 chapters that we've read was about the Moon Dynasty. Now this chapter 14, all the way till chapter 24, which is the end, isn't it? Yeah, it is. We'll be reading about the Moon Dynasty all the way until Krishna. Then we'll begin the 10th canto. So from Garbhadaksha Vishnu, Brahma was born, and then from Brahma, Atri Muni, and from Atri Muni, Soma, the moon god. Soma was born from Atri's tears of joy, so he was full of soothing rays. Brahma appointed him as the director of the Brahmins, medicinal herbs, and stars. Note: Atri's wife Anasurya gave birth to 3 sons, Soma, Dattatreya, and Durvasa, the partial representations of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva respectively. It is said that at the time of conception, Anasuya was impregnated by the tears of Atri. It is also stated that Soma was born from the mind of the Supreme Lord, Chandrama Manaso Jataha. These 2 versions are not contradictory, but have taken place in different millenniums. So now Soma kidnaps Tārā. Soma conquered the 3 worlds and performs the Rajasurya Yajna. He became puffed up and forcibly kidnapped Brihaspati's wife, Tārā. Brihaspati requested Soma repeatedly to return Tārā, but proud Soma didn't, so a fight ensued between the demigods and the demons. Because of enmity between Brihaspati and Shukracharya, Shukracharya sided with Soma along with the demons. Lord Shiva, out of his affection, sided with Brihaspati along with the ghosts. Because Shiva had received knowledge from Brihaspati's father Ingira, Indra and the demigods also joined Brihaspati. There was a great fight. So that's where we read up to yesterday. What am I doing? Oh, and I'm just checking the mic. Okay. Nivedito tangira sa somam nirbhatsa vishvakrit taram swabhartre prayachar antarvatnim avaitpati. One second. When Lord Brahma was fully informed by Angira about the entire incident, he severely chastised the moon god Soma. Thus, Lord Brahma delivered Tārā to her husband, who could then understand that she was pregnant. Tyaja terja shudush pragye matkshetrad ahitam parai, naham tvam basmasat kuryam striyam santanike sati. Brihaspati said, "You foolish woman, your womb, which was meant for me to impregnate, has been impregnated by someone other than me. Immediately deliver your child. Immediately deliver it. Be assured that after the child is delivered, I shall not burn you to ashes. I know that although you are unchaste, you wanted a son. Therefore, I shall not punish you." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Tārā was married to Brihaspati, and therefore, as a chaste woman, she should have been impregnated by him. But instead, she preferred to be impregnated by Soma, the moon god, and therefore she was unchaste. Although Brihaspati accepted Tārā Brahma, when he saw that she was pregnant, he wanted her to deliver a son immediately. Tārā certainly very much feared her husband, and she thought she might be punished after giving birth. Thus Brihaspati assured her that he would not punish her, for although she was unchaste and had become pregnant illicitly, she wanted a son. Tatyaja vridita Tārā kumarang kanaka prabham spriham angirasaschakre kumare soma evacha. Shukadev Goswami continued, by Brihaspati's order, Tārā, who was very much ashamed, immediately gave birth to the child, who was very beautiful, with a golden bodily hue. Both Brihaspati and the moon god, Soma, desired the beautiful child. Mamayam na tavetyuchais tasmin vivadamanayo paprachur rishayo deva naivoche vriditatusa. Fighting again broke out between Brihaspati and the moon god, both of whom claimed, "This is my child, not yours." All the saints and demigods present asked Tārā whose child the newborn baby actually was, but because she was ashamed, she could not immediately answer. Kumaro mataram praha kupito likalajaya king navachasyad sarvrite atma vadyam vadashume. The child then became very angry and demanded that his mother immediately tell the truth. He could already talk, huh? "You unchaste woman," he said, "what is the use of your unnecessary shame? Why do you not admit your fault? Immediately tell me about your faulty behavior." Jeez. Brahmatam raha ahuya samaprakshitcha santvayan somasetaha shanakai somastam tavarangrahit. Lord Brahma then brought Tārā to a secluded place, and after pacifying her, he asked to whom the child actually belonged. She replied very slowly, This is the son of Soma, the moon god." Then the moon god immediately took charge of the child. Tasyatma yonirakrita Buddha itya bidhan nripa Buddha gambhirayatena putrena poduran mudam. O Maharaj Parikshit, when Lord Brahma saw that the child was deeply intelligent, he gave the child the name Budha. The moon god, the ruler of the stars, enjoyed great jubilation because of this son. Tata Purūravā jagye ilayam ya udahrita tasya rupa gunodarya shiladravina vikraman Shutvor Vashindra Bhavane Giyamanam Surarshina Tarantikam Upeyaya Devismara Sharardhita. Thereafter, from Buddha to the womb of Ila, a son was born named Purūravā, who is described in the beginning of the 9th canto. When his beauty, personal qualities, magnanimity, behavior, wealth, and power were described by Narad in the court of Lord Indra, the celestial woman Urvaśī was attracted to him. Pierced by the arrow of Cupid, she thus approached him. Mitra varunayo shapar apana naralokatam nishamya purusha shreshtam kandarpam ivarupinam dhritim vishtabhyalalana upataste tarantike satam vilokyanripatir harshenot pulalochana uvacha shlakshnaya vacha devim hrishta tanuruha. Having been cursed by Mitra and Varuna, the celestial woman Urvaśī had acquired the habits of a human being. Therefore, upon seeing Purūravā, the best of males, whose body resembled that of Cupid, she controlled herself and then approached him. When King Purūravā saw Urvaśī, his eyes became jubilant in the ecstasy of joy, and the hairs on his body stood on end. With mild, pleasing words, he spoke to her as follows. Shirajovacha Swagatam te vararohe asyatam karabamakim sangramasva maya sakam ratir no shashvati samaha. King Purūravā said, "O most beautiful woman, you are welcome. Please sit here and tell me what I can do for you. You may enjoy with me as long as you desire. Let us pass our life happily in a sexual relationship." Didn't waste any time there. Urvaśuvacha kasyastvayena sajeta mano drishtischa sundara yarangantaram asadya Chyavate Hariringshaya. Urvaśī replied, "O most handsome man, who is the woman whose mind and sight would not be attracted by you? If a woman takes shelter of your chest, she cannot refuse to enjoy with you in a sexual relationship." Purport. When a beautiful man and a beautiful woman unite together and embrace one another, how within these can they check their sexual relationship? Therefore, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 7:9-45 says, "Yan maitunadi grihamedi sukam hitucham." Sorry, guys. Etav uranako rajanyaso rakshasvamanada samrangshe bhavata sakam shlagya strinam varasmritaha. My dear King Purūravā, please give protection to these two lambs who have fallen down with me. Although I belong to the heavenly planets and you belong to earth, I shall certainly enjoy sexual union with you. I have no objection to accepting you as my husband, for you are superior in every respect. Purport. As stated in the Brahma Samhita 540, Yasya Prabhavato Jagaranda Koti Kotishvashesha Vasudadi Vibhuti Bhinam. There are various planets and various atmospheres in this universe. The atmosphere of the heavenly planet from which Urvaśī descended after being cursed by Mitra and Varuna was different from the atmosphere of this earth. Indeed, the inhabitants of the heavenly planets are certainly far superior to the inhabitants of the earth. Nonetheless, Urvaśī agreed to remain the consort of Purūravā, although she belonged to a superior community. A woman who finds a man with superior qualities may accept such a man as her husband. Similarly, if a man finds a woman who is from an inferior family but who has good qualities, he can accept such a brilliant wife as advised by Sri Chanakya Pandit. Stri Ratnam Dushkular Api. The combination of male and female is worthwhile, and the qualities of both are on an equal level. Gritame virabhakshang swasyan nekshetanyatra maitunat vivasasam tattateti pratipede mahamana. Urvaśī said, "My dear hero, only preparations made in ghee, clarified butter, will be my eatables. And I shall not want to see you naked at any time, except at the time of sexual intercourse." The great-minded King Purūravā accepted these proposals. Said, keep her lamb safe, to eat only things made in ghee, and to only see him naked during sexual intercourse, not otherwise. Aho rupam aho bhavo Nāraloka vimohanam ko na sevite manujo deving tvang swayamagatam. Purūravā replied, O beautiful one, your beauty is wonderful and your gestures are also wonderful. Indeed, you are attractive to all human society. Therefore, since you have come of your own accord from the heavenly planets, who on earth would not agree to serve a demigoddess such as you? Purport. It appears from the words of Urvaśī, the standard of living, eating, behavior, and speech are all different on the heavenly planets from the standards on this planet Earth. The inhabitants of the heavenly planets do not eat such abominable things as meat and eggs. Everything they eat is prepared in clarified butter. Nor do they like to see either men or women naked, except at the time of sexual intercourse. To live naked or almost naked is uncivilized, but on this planet Earth, it has now become fashionable to dress half naked, and sometimes those like hippies live completely naked. Indeed, there are many club societies for this purpose. Such conduct is not allowed, however, on the heavenly planets. The inhabitants of the heavenly planets, aside from being very beautiful, both in complexion and bodily features, are well-behaved and long-living, and they eat first-class food and goodness. These are some of the distinctions between the inhabitants of the heavenly planets and the inhabitants of Earth. Taya sapurusho sheshto ramayantya yatarhata reme sura vihareshu kamam chaitraratadishu. Shukadeva Goswami continued, the best of human beings, Purūravā, began freely enjoying the company of Urvaśī, who engaged in sexual activities with him in many celestial places, such as Chaitrarata and Nandakanan, where the demigods enjoy. Ramamanastaya devya parmakinjalka gandaya tanmukha modamushito mumude harganan bahun. Urvaśī's body was as fragrant as the saffron of a lotus. Being enlivened by the fragrance of her face and body, Purūravā enjoyed her company for many days in great jubilation. Apashyan Urvaśīm Indro Gandharvan Samachodayat Urvaśī Rahitang Mahyam Astanam Natishobhate. Not seeing Urvaśī in his assembly, the king of heaven, Lord Indra, said, without Urvaśī, my assembly is no longer beautiful. Considering this, he requested the Gandharvas to bring her back to his heavenly planet. Te upetya maharatre tas tamasi pratyutpastite Urvaśya uranao jahrur Nyasto Rajanijayaya. Thus the Gandharvas came to earth, and at midnight, when everything was dark, they appeared in the house of Purūravā and stole the 2 lambs entrusted to the king by his wife Urvaśī. Purport. The dead of night refers to midnight. The Mahanisha is described in this Smriti mantra. Mahanisha dvekatike ratrir madhyama yamayo. 12 o'clock midnight is called the dead of night. Nishamyakranditam devi putrayor niyamanayo hatasmaham kunathena napungsa viramanina. Urvaśī treated the 2 lambs like her own sons. Therefore, when they were being taken by the Gandharvas and began crying, Urvaśī heard them and rebuked her husband. "Now I'm being killed," she said, "under the protection of an unworthy husband who is a coward and a eunuch, although he thinks himself a great hero." Advishrambhad ahang nashta rita patya chadasyubhi yashete nishantrasto yata nari divapuman. Because I depended on him, the plunderers have deprived me of my 2 sons, the lambs, and therefore I am now lost. My husband lies down at night in fear, exactly like a woman, although he appears to be a man during the day. Iti vaksar vidha pratotrair iva kunjara nishi nistrings sham oh God. Adaya vivastro bhyadravad. Purūravā, stricken by the sharp words of Urvaśī like an elephant struck by its driver's pointed rod, became very angry. Not even dressing himself properly, he took a sword in hand and went out naked into the night to follow the Gandharvas who had stolen the lambs. Te visri jorano tatra vyadotantas mavidyuta adayo me shavayan ayantam nagnam aikshata sapatim. After giving up the 2 lambs, the Gandharvas shone brightly like lightning, thus illuminating the house of Purūravā. Urvaśī then saw her husband returning with the lambs in hand, but he was naked, and therefore she left. Ailopi shayane jayam apashyan vimana iva tachito vivala shochan babramon mattavan mahim. No longer seeing Urvaśī on his bed, Purūravā was most aggrieved. Because of his attraction for her, he was very much disturbed. Thus, lamenting, he began traveling about the earth like a madman. Satam viksha kurukshetre sarasvatyam chatat sakhi pancha prahrishta vadana prahash suktam Purūravā. Once doing his travels all over the world, Purūravā saw Urvaśī accompanied by 5 companions on the bank of the Saraswati at Kurukshetra. With jubilation in his face, he then spoke to her in sweet words as follows. Aho jaye tishta tishta ghorena tyaktumarhasi mam tvam adyapya anirvritya vachangsi kren avavahai. My dear wife, O most cruel one, kindly stay, kindly stay. I know that I have never made you happy until now, but you should not give me up for that reason. This is not proper for you. Even if you have decided to give up my company, let us nonetheless talk for some time. Sudeho yam patatyatra devi duram hritastvaya Kadantenam vrikagridras tvat prasadasya naspadam. O goddess, now that you have refused me, my beautiful body will fall down here, and because it is unsuitable for your pleasure, it will be eaten by foxes and vultures. Urvaśī mamrita puruṣositam masmatvadyurvrika ime kvapi sakyam navaistrinam vrikanam hridayam yata. Urvaśī said, "My dear king, you are a man, a hero. Don't be impatient and give up your life. Be sober and don't allow the senses to overcome you like foxes. Don't let the foxes eat you. In other words, you should not be controlled by your senses. Rather, you should know that the heart of a woman is like that of a fox. There is no use of making friendship with women." Purport. Chanakya Pandit has advised, Vishvaso naiva kartavya stri raja kuleshu cha. Never place your faith in a woman or a politician. Unless elevated spiritual consciousness, everyone is conditioned and fallen, what to speak of women who are less intelligent than men. Women have been compared to Shudras and Vaishyas, Striyo Vaishyas tata Shudra. On the spiritual platform, however, when one is elevated to the platform of Krishna consciousness, whether one is a man, woman, Shudra, or whatever everyone is, everyone is equal. Otherwise, Urvaśī, who is a woman herself and who knew the nature of women, said that a woman's heart is like that of a sly fox. If a man cannot control his senses, he becomes a victim of such sly foxes. But if one can control the senses, there is no chance of his being victimized by sly fox-like women. Chanakya Pandit has also advised that when one has a wife like a sly fox, he must immediately give up home and go to the forest. Mata yasya grihe nasti bharya cha priyamni aranyam tena gantavyam yataranyam tata griham. Krishna conscious grihastas must be very careful of the sly fox woman. If the wife at home is obedient and follows her husband in Krishna consciousness, the home is welcome. Otherwise, one should give up one's home and go to the forest. Hitvatma patam grihamanda kupam vanam gato yad dharimashrayeta. One should go to the forest and take shelter of the lotus feet of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Striyo hya karuna krura durmarsha priyasahasaha gnan talparte pivishrabdhim dham patim bhratarame apyuta. Women as a class are merciless and cunning. They cannot tolerate even a slight offense. For their own pleasure, they can do anything irreligious, and therefore they do not fear killing even a faithful husband or brother. King Purūravā was greatly attached to Urvaśī, yet despite his faithfulness to her, she had left him. Now, considering that the king was wasting his rarely achieved human form of life, Urvaśī frankly explains the nature of a woman. Because of her nature, a woman can respond to even a slight offense from her husband by not only leaving him, but even killing him if required. To say nothing of her husband, she can even kill her brother. That is a woman's nature. Therefore, in the material world, unless women are trained to be chaste and faithful to their husbands, there cannot be peace or prosperity in society. Vidhayalika vishrambham ageshu tyaktaso hrida navam abhipsantya pungschalya svairaviritaya. Women are very easily seduced by men. Therefore, polluted women give up the friendship of a man who is their well-wisher and establish false friendship among fools. Indeed, they seek newer and newer friends, one after another. Purport. Because women are easily seduced, the Manu Samhita enjoins that they should not be given freedom. A woman must always be protected either by her father, by her husband, or by her elderly son. If women are given freedom to mingle with men like equals, which they now claim to be, they cannot keep their propriety. The nature of a woman, as personally described by Urvaśī, is to establish false friendship with someone and then seek new male companions, one after another, even if this means giving up the company of a sincere well-wisher. Samvatsarante hi bhavan ekaratra mayeshvara rangsyatyapatyani chaye apatyani chaite. Sorry guys. Bhavishantya parani bho. O my dear king, you will be able to enjoy with me as my husband at the end of every year for one night only. In this way you will have other children one after another. Although Urvaśī had aversely explained the nature of a woman, Maharaj Purūravā was very much attached to her, and therefore she wanted to give the king some concession by agreeing to being his wife for one night at the end of each year. Antarvatnem upalakshya devim sa prayayo purim punastatra gato bdhante Urvaśīm viramataram. Understanding that Urvaśī was pregnant, Purūravā returned to his palace. At the end of the year, there at Kurukshetra, he again obtained the association of Urvaśī, who was then the mother of a heroic son. Upalabdha mudayukta samuvasataya nisham Attainam Urvaśī praha kripanam virahaturam. Having regained Urvaśī at the end of the year, King Purūravā was most jubilant, and he enjoyed her company and sex for one night. But then he was very sorry at the thought of separation from him, so Urvaśī spoke to him as follows. Gandharvam upadhave mansh tuvyam dasyanti mamiti tasya sangstu vatastushta agnistalim dadur nripa Urvaśīm manyamanastam sobudhyata charan vane. Urvaśī said, "My dear king, shelter of the Gandharvas, for they will be able to deliver me to you again." In accordance with these words, the king satisfied the Gandharvas by prayers, and the Gandharvas, being pleased with him, gave him an Agnistali girl who looked exactly like Urvaśī. Thinking that the girl was Urvaśī, the king began walking with her in the forest, but later he could understand that she was not Urvaśī, but Agnistali. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Tagore remarks that Purūravā was very lusty. Immediately after getting the Agnistali girl, he wanted to have sex with her, but during sexual intercourse he could understand that the girl was Agnistali, not Urvaśī. This indicates that every man attached to a particular woman knows the particular characteristics of that woman during sex life. Thus Purūravā understood during sexual intercourse that the Agnistali girl was not Urvaśī. Stalimnyasya vane gatva grihan adhyayato nishi tretayam sampravrittayam manasi traya vartata. King Purūravā then left Agnistali in the forest and returned home, where he meditated all night upon Urvaśī. In the course of his meditation, the Treta millennium began, and therefore the principles of the three Vedas, including the process of performing yajna to fulfill fruitive activities, appeared within his heart. Purport. It is said, Tretayam yajato makai. In Treta Yuga, if one performs yajnas, he would get the results of those yajnas. By performing the Vishnu yajna specifically, one could even achieve the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, yajna is intended to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. While Purūravā was meditating upon Urvaśī, the Treta Yuga began, and therefore the Vedic yajnas were revealed in his heart. But Purūravā was a materialistic man, especially interested in enjoying the senses. Yajnas for enjoyment of the senses are called karma khandya yajnas. Therefore, he decided to perform karma khandya yajnas to fulfill his lusty desires. In other words, karma khandya yajnas are meant for sensuous persons, whereas yajna should actually be performed to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To please the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Kali Yuga, the Sankirtan Yajna is recommended. Yajna Sankirtana Prayarya Jantihi Sumedasa. Only those who are very intelligent to the Sankirtan Yajna, only those who are very intelligent to take to Sankirtan Yajna to fulfill all their desires, material and spiritual, whereas those who are lusty for sense gratification perform karma khandya yajnas. How many verses today? 49. Okay. Stalistanam gato shvatam shami garbam vilakshasa tena dve arani kritva Urvaśī loka kamyaya Urvaśī mantrato dhyayan athararanim uttaram Atmanam uvayor madhe yatat prajananam prabhu. When the process of Purūravā yajna became manifest within his heart, King Purūravā went to the same spot where he had left Agnistali. Therefore he saw that from the womb of a shami tree, an ashvata had grown up. He then took a piece of wood from that tree and made it into 2 aranis. Desiring to go to the planet where Urvaśī resided, he chanted mantras, meditating upon the lower arani as Urvaśī and the upper one as himself, and the piece of wood between them as his son. In this way he began to ignite the fire. I think I need to stand up. 1 second. Purport. The Vedic fire for performing yajna was not ignited with ordinary matches or similar devices. Rather, the Vedic sacrificial fire was ignited by the aranis, or 2 sacred pieces of wood which are produced by 2 sacred pieces of wood, which produce fire by friction with a third. Such fire is necessary for the performance of yajna. If successful, a yajna will fulfill the desire for Amar. Thus, Purūravā took advantage of the process of yajna to fulfill his lusty desires. He thought of the lower arani as Urvaśī, the upper one as himself, and the middle one as his son. A relevant Vedic mantra quoted herein by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is Sharmi Gabar Agni Manta. A similar mantra is Urvaśyam Urasī Purūravā. Purūravā wanted to have children continuously by the womb of Urvaśī. His only ambition was to have sex life with Urvaśī and thereby get a son. In other words, he had so much lust in his heart that even while performing yajna, he thought of Urvaśī instead of thinking of the master yajna, Yajneshwar, Lord Vishnu. Tasya nirmantana jato jata veda vibhavasu trayasa vidyaya ragya putratve kalpitas trivrit. From Purūravā's rubbing of the aranis came a fire. By such a fire, one can achieve all success in material enjoyment and be purified in seminal birth, initiation, and in the performance of sacrifice, which are invoked with the combined letters A, U, Thus, the fire was considered the son of King Purūravā. Purport. According to the Vedic process, one can get a son through semen, shukra, One can get a bona fide disciple through initiation, savitra, or one can get a son or disciple through the fire of sacrifice, yajna. Thus, when Maharaj Purūravā generated the fire by rubbing the aranis, the fire became his son. Either by semen, by initiation, or by yajna, one may get a son. The Vedic mantra Omkar, or Pranava, consisting of the letters A, U, Ma, can call each of these three methods into existence. Therefore, the words Nirmantanaj Jataha indicate that by the rubbing of the aranis, a son was born. Tena yajataya gesham Bhagavantam adhokshajam Urvaśī lokaman vichan sarvadeva mayam harim. By means of that fire, Purūravā, who desired to go to the planet where Urvaśī resided, performed the sacrifice by which he satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, the enjoyer of the results of sacrifice. Thus he worships the Lord who is beyond the reciprocate perception of the senses and is the reservoir of all the demigods. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhoktaram Yagatapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Any loka or planet to which one wants to go is the property of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the enjoyer of the performance of sacrifice. The purpose of yajna is to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age, as we have explained many, many times, the yajna of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the only sacrifice that can satisfy the Supreme Lord. When the Lord is satisfied, one can fulfill any desire, material or spiritual. Bhagavad Gita 3:14 also says, Yagyar bhavati parjanya. By offering sacrifices to Lord Vishnu, one can have sufficient rainfall. When there is sufficient rainfall, the earth becomes fit to produce everything. Samakama dugdha mahi. If one can utilize the land properly, one can get all the necessities of life from the land, including all demigods, including all food grains, fruits, water, and vegetables. Everything one gets from material wealth is produced from the earth, and therefore it is said, Sarva kama dukha mahi. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.10.4. Everything is possible by performing yajna. Therefore, although Purūravā desired something material, he factually performed yajna to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord is a dhokshaj, beyond the perception of Purūravā and everyone else. Consequently, some kind of yajna must be performed to fulfill the desires of the living entity. Yajnas can be performed in human society only when society is divided by varnashram dharma into 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. Without such a regulative process, no one can perform yajnas, and without the performance of yajnas, no material plans can make the human society happy at any time. Everyone should therefore be induced to perform yajnas. In this age of Kali, the yajna recommended is Sankirtan, the individual or collective chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This will bring the fulfillment of all necessities for human society. Eka eva pura veda pranava sarva vangmaya devo narayano nanya ekognir varn eva cha. In the Satya Yuga, the first millennium, all the Vedic mantras were included in one mantra, Pranava, the root of all Vedic mantras. In other words, the Atharva Veda alone was the source of all Vedic knowledge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, was the only worshipable deity. There is no recommendation for worship of the demigods. 5 was only one, and the only order of life in human society was known as Hamsa. Purport. In Satya Yuga, there was only one Veda, not 4. And later, before the beginning of Kali Yuga, this one Veda, the Atharva Veda, or some say the Yajur Veda, was divided into 4, Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva, for the facility of human society. In Satya Yuga, the only mantra was Omkar, Om Tat Sat. The same name Omkar is manifest in the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Unless Brahman, one cannot utter Omkar and get the desired result. But in Kali Yuga, almost everyone is a Shudra, unfit for pronouncing the Pranava, Omkar. Therefore, the Shastras have recommended the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Omkar is a mantra or Mahamantra, and Hare Krishna is also a Mahamantra. The purpose of pronouncing Omkar is to address the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And the purpose of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is the same. Hare, O energy of the Lord. Krishna, O Lord Krishna. Hare, O energy of the Lord. Rama, O Supreme Lord, O Enjoyer. The only worshipable Lord is Hari, who is the goal of the Vedas. Vedaischa sarvar aham eva vedya. By worshipping the demigods, one worships the different parts of the Lord, just as one might water the branches and twigs of a tree. By worshipping Narayan, the all-inclusive Supreme Personality of Godhead, is like pouring water on the root of the tree, thus supplying water to the trunk, branches, twigs, leaves, and so on. In Satya Yuga, people knew how to fulfill the necessities of life simply by worshipping Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The same purpose can be served in this age of Kali by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra as recommended in the Bhagavatam. Kirtanad eva Krishna sya sangam mukta sangam param vrajet. Simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one becomes free from the bondage of material existence and thus becomes eligible to return home back to Godhead. Purūravā sa evasit Traitreta mukhe nripa agni na prajaya praraja lokam Gandharvameyinvan. We're ending with this verse. O Maharaj Parikshit, at the beginning of Treta Yuga, King Purṛravā inaugurated a karma kanda sacrifice. Thus Purūravā, who considered the yajnik fire his son, was able to go to Gandharvaloka as he desired. Purport. In Satya Yuga, Lord Narayan was worshipped by meditation. Kriti yad dhayato Vishnu. Indeed, everyone has always meditated upon Lord Vishnu, Narayan, and achieved every success by the process of meditation. In the next Yuga, Treta Yuga, the performance of yajna became Tretayam Yajato Makai. This performance of yajna began. Therefore, this verse says, Trai Treta Mukhe. Ritualistic ceremonies are generally called fruitive activities. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that in Treta Yuga, beginning in the Swayambhuva Manvantar, ritualistic fruitive activities were similarly manifested from Priyavrat, etc. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 14th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled King Purūravā enchanted by Urvaśī. All right. Sorry, I'm so tired today. I don't know why. Thank you for tolerating all that. Dandavat pranam Swarup Manjari Didi and Champak Didi Haribo. Man, I was falling asleep a lot during that reading. I got enough sleep last night though, so I don't know what the problem is. Anyways. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari. Oh, sorry, I didn't sing Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Shishmar Bhakti Vigyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Mahabhagavat Shri Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Nitya Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai, Nama Chaichla Hairas Thakur ki jai, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय, श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जाय, सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जाय, श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय, श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय, श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय, श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय, श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाय की जाय, श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय, श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री श्रील वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय, तदीय शुभ थिरुवा तिथि की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रीनिताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल, वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशवाशा, कृष्ण भक्ति पद देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः, पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. Dandavat pranam to everybody. See you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. Thanks for putting up with all of that also, my unenthusiastic reading today. Sleepy reading, not unenthusiastic, sleepy reading.